Installing wallpaper is very simple. If one is very skilled and has scissors and a cloth, we can more or less manage to do it. Another thing is to install professionally the wallpaper. When we do these tutorials, we always think, not only of DIYers, but we also think about professionals because DIYers are interested in learning techniques. Here we are going to do it, and professionals are interested in seeing what new tools and what new products are available to improve their work. We, at Brickocrack, already know that, to do the tutorials, what we first do is to research and work closely with the best specialists. In this case, we have used the experience of a European leading paper manufacturer, such as Saint Honoré, and a very important tool manufacturer as is Nespoli. Let's start by unfolding our wallpaper table. It is a professional table because it allows me to travel with it, taking up little space and being very light. As you can see, it is numbered, and it is very easy to open. These are our special guests, the wallpaper rolls. We have chosen some that we liked from the Saint Honoré page. If you want to choose wallpapers, you can enter their website that, in addition to having a splendid sample of wallpapers, it also has a calculator that can help you calculate exactly how many rolls you need when installing wallpaper at home. Once I choose the roll that I like, I just have to consider the kind of roll it is. It can be of two broad categories, a vinyl paper or non-vinyl wallpaper. Why is this differentiation important? Because it determines the type of glue that I am going to use to stick them. That's why I have to know if it is one thing or the other. Nowadays you also have universal glues, which are more widespread, that are used for both types of wallpaper. Ask at the store to find out if the paper you take supports or not that kind of universal glue. It is also important that we look at another characteristic, which is whether the wallpaper is a cellulose paper at its base or whether it is a non-woven wallpaper. I am going to explain this to you because the information comes in the rolls because, what really helps us, is to know how I am going to do the installation and, in this case, we have to see it necessarily before installing. For example, as you can see in ours, this symbol means that it is glued directly to the wall. The papers that are glued directly to the wall are non-woven fabrics. However, in other papers you will see that the symbol is gluing a paper. This is a cellulose-based paper. These other symbols tell me that this paper is strippable without a chemical stripper. Others do not have this and are peelable. They come off but with more difficulty. This symbol tells me that it is washable paper. There are others that can be simply spongeable or very washable. This is what this symbol represents. And this one tells me that it resists sunlight without problem. As you know, there are papers in which the rolls complement each other, with a pattern, to form different figures. It is indicated here. This symbol indicates the distance between patterns. In other words, it has a precise placement between one roll and another. In this one it shows us that, every 53 centimeters, the motif in which the two rolls are joined is repeated. And these arrows placed like this indicate, in addition, that this is an alternate pattern. We have 3 identical rolls to install. How can I be sure that the tinting is identical and that there will be no differences? Looking at this reference number, it must always match the rolls that I am going to place. Let's start by always measuring the height of the wall. In our case, we have 236 centimeters between the ceiling and the baseboard. In order to work comfortably, it is always convenient for us to leave 5 centimeters above and as many below to make the cut comfortably. We are going to take advantage of our table to do the measurement. We are going to give it the first meter here and, here, we mark 146 centimeters. The options we have to cut it are scissors, We have a scissors like this that is for left-handed and right-handed. We can do it, as usual, with the cutter or in a very professional way, we can directly use this wallpaper knife. This is our first roll that is going to go left. Let's start with this area here. So, this one, so as not to be mistaken, I am going to mark it with a number 1 that already tells me which one it is. We are going to prepare the second strip. I am not going to remove it because what I need is to make the pattern. So we are going to go to the top. We are going to unfold this paper and we are going to find the first point where the motifs coincide. This would be the pattern. Let's look, for example, on this small piece of our hummingbird's wing. Here we have the hummingbird, and here the wing would match. Do not worry if the cut is not exact because we always have a margin of 5 centimeters. Logically, in papers that have shorter patterns, we will have less waste. Here, as the manufacturer already indicated, we can have in some cases up to 53 centimeters of waste. Let's cut the excess. And this is going to be our strip number 2. We now cut it to its size. 236 from the wall, plus 10 centimeters for adjustments, 246 centimeters. We continue doing the same with the remaining strips. We look for the pattern of 3 with 2, of 4 with 3 and so on. We cut the remainder that results. We number the strips. And we cut them all to the same size. In order to have the paper correctly positioned, of course, the first strip always has to be perfectly vertical because it is the one that will give us the placement line to all the other strips. How do we do it? Well, we can do it with a traditional system, for example, which would be with a level. But I also have other tools that are more specific as this rule. This is a special tool for this work. If I place it on the top of the roof, notice how, due to its own fall, it fits perfectly with our line and allows us to draw. Let's prepare the adhesive. On the one that is already prepared, we add, following the instructions, a percentage of water, the one indicated in each case by the manufacturer. Beat it until you get a homogeneous mixture. We are going to make a mark of the approximate width of the strip, with a little margin, to only glue the space of each strip. This way, we apply the adhesive and we place the strip because this glue dries very quickly. When you apply the glue, it is important to spread it in a very homogeneous way. Avoid both excess and lack of glue. We put the first strip leaving some excess on top to cut. We look at it adjusting the lateral line and we stick it and stretch it well with the help of the brush. We glue the space where the second strip will go. We place this strip paying attention first to ensure that the pattern matches well. Once we have it, we will also look at the alignment. The two strips have to go perfectly parallel, together but not on top of each other or separated. Once we have the joint well aligned, with the help of the brush, we glue the strip. We do it smoothly and from top to bottom, avoiding folds or bubbles. Press in the joint so that the paper sticks as much as possible. As you can see, our third strip matches with the corner. What do we do in this case? Well, what we are going to do is cut it lengthwise. We are going to measure it, always trying to check that it is the widest in case there is any movement on the wall, and to that measure we add 3 mm and cut it. To cut without damaging the table, we can place an old board below, so we can press with this cutter. It is a rotary cutter from Nespoli, with a protector, which cuts very easily and without tearing the paper. Glue the corners well in. If there is any excess, remove it later. Align the joint well with the previous strip and glue the paper, pushing it so that it fits well in the corner. We are adjusting like this, from top to bottom. Now we glue and paste the other half strip. To better glue the difficult areas, I am using a wallpaper knife. It is a spatula from Nespoli. I will show how it is used later. This strip has a very common obstacle, which is finding a mechanism. You are going to see how we solve it in these cases. Always remember that an important precaution is to turn off the light when we do this type of work. To cut the space of the mechanism, we first make a cross cut so that we can open it and work more comfortably. With these previous cuts, it is easier for us to remove the paper later. You have some margin of error for cutting because it is covered by the frame of the mechanism. For this next strip, what we have done is create another obstacle. We have represented a window here. Let's see what we do when we come across doors or windows. We hold the paper above the obstacle and with the wallpapering scissors we cut it to work more comfortably. The spatula helps us to handle the paper. Now that we have the strips in place in all the planned spaces, let's see how to use the suitable tools for the final endings. First of all, we will clean the drops of glue that have remained on top of the paper. When we are going to smooth, we need a tool like this. It is a spatula. It has a rounded area, which is very comfortable to work along the paper without damaging it. And a harder area where we can work more energetically to stick the paper in the joint. Now we are going to flatten the joints, both the walls and those in the corners. In this way, we manage to remove the excessive glue that may be in these areas. To review the joints, we have these traditional rollers that allow us to tighten them well. In case the paper is delicate, we can use a roller of this type which is much less aggressive. This roller is the one that allows us to smooth well when the process is finished and, at the same time, we are going to observe that there are no bubbles. If there are air bubbles, what we do is fill them with a little glue and, in case we have glue bubbles, on the contrary, we empty the glue. For this type of work there are syringes. This double roller also has a very interesting utility in regarding finishes. With this one we are going to go over the corners. Once the paper is dry, we can cut all the excesses we have in the joints. We cut the excesses on the baseboard. Those on the roof. And those of the trims of the door and window. For this joint between the wall and the molding, we have chosen a traditional cutter. Well, as you can see, installing wallpaper becomes more and more easy every day and, in addition, you have an enormous assortment of products. I also hope that you liked this tutorial, that you give us your like, that you subscribe to the channel, if you are not already, and that of course you share this video with all your friends who enjoy DIY and interior design.